All right, today's project, we got a root rake we're gonna mount on this Komatsu dozer. The customer bought this rake intending to put it on a larger dozer that he's gonna purchase. So we're gonna get it mounted on this one for the time being, and it's gonna need a few modifications to get it on here. Every root rake that I've ever mounted always was something different. It's not just a one way to do it. There's always problems that you kind of got to work through, stuff on the back of the blade or whatever. This situation, the ears that we got over there that came with the rake, the height of this blade looks like it's a little shorter than intended, so we only got about an inch of material touching when they go on the front of the blade right here. That's not enough to weld to. So just not knowing what we had against us, we brought some 3/4 plate. Thought that was enough to probably do anything we had to do, and looking at it right now, it looks like it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend those ears. We're going to weld more to them. Right now we're kind of chipping away. We've got to make that ear, the angle, we need to make that come down on the contour of that blade there. So he's just trimming a little bit off. We're going to put it back up there and see what else we need to do. We're going to get one fit to the contour that we want, and then we'll lay out the rest of them based on that, because we've got the blade centered up and level. Looking at it, every one of them should be the same. They might not, but we're going to take a chance on that. So that's what we're up against right now. I'll try to do my best to show all the steps that we're going to go through on this. Right now we're using our crane to hold it up. This is a new truck to us. We're finally getting it set up. So this bigger crane's definitely been handy on stuff like this. All right, so on this bracket right here, we had to trim a little bit, and all we did was just push it back to the point hit and just kind of marked it, took it over there to the bumper and cut a little bit till we got it where we want it. So right now that's pushed all the way back. We got a clamp on it, and then this isn't enough material here to what we could just weld that and be done, but it's really not going to be strong enough. So what we did, we made a cardboard template. We've got some 3/4 inch plate on the truck that we brought, and we made this template. So we're going to cut a piece of the 3/4 and we're going to bevel it. We'll probably bevel this side and the 3/4, and this will be you'd say a full penetrated weld. So basically we're just going to modify this bracket to be larger to get more surface area on it, and we're going to weld that on the bumper on all of them. We're going to cut all these to match this, because we've got our blade oriented in the center. Everything's level, so it should be the same. We're just going to cut all these out, and we've got our seamless torch today, so it should make this process go quick and easy. We got 4 of these to make, so we'll show you all that process. All right, we got all our pieces cut. We got bevels on this. We just did a single bevel on the new plate, and it's gonna butt right into this 1-inch bracket that came with the rake. You can see right here, Caden's got one pass, and this is 3/4, this is 1 inch. We just offset it all the way to one side to make it easy to fit up. That way we didn't have to split the difference. I didn't see a need to try to split the difference. He's getting those welded up. I've got the rake positioned back where it needed to be, and I've got this bracket just hanging, waiting till we get all of them welded up. Then we'll get them in the same orientation as this one, and once this rake is pushed back where it needs to be, and this is pushed up against the blade, it's a good fit all the way up in there, and we'll put a good weld up through there. What we're gonna do is we're gonna get all these tacked up and remove the rake out of the way. So that'll be the next step. Once we get those welded, get them all tacked into place, remove the rake out of the way, and we'll probably use both welding machines at that point, because that'll be the last step to get those welded up so we can get out of here. The CNC-less was a good tool to have today. This job definitely could have been done without it, but that was a lot of cutting right there that we did in just a few minutes. And it's very handy to have 4 identical parts when you go to line stuff up. It can be done if they're a little bit off, it's not a problem. But when you have a machine that's able to replicate 4 parts out here on site, it makes this work go a lot easier. Like I said, it can be done without it. It's not a necessity to have, but we try to get this work done as fast as possible, so we like using that kind of equipment. Getting ready to mount this thing up and get it aligned, and I want to keep a consistent gap on each side of this main mounting point. So what I've got is just 2 1/8-inch welding rods. I'm going to slip over that pin. It should stay in there. Slip these in. Then I got just a regular old C-clamp right here, and I'm going to try to get on there and maybe keep everything straight and parallel. I have to go get a bigger C-clamp. All right. Like it's going to work, but I'm going to have to get another clamp to get on that top. most part, looks like it's gonna work out. I'll take some measurements down in here on the other side and make sure everything's good square, parallel. Finishing up those other ones. And we'll get the other one configured just like this. We'll double check the rake in relation with the blade. And I've got this thing rigged up on the crane. I've got one leg coming down with a come along. That way we can adjust this thing. Easier that, to me it's easier that way than getting back and forth in the machine and using the blade itself. We keep the battery disconnected. So having to jump back in, crank it up, unhook the battery, it works better if you can adjust this thing with your rigging. Another thing that I've learned on these, a lot of times the hydraulics won't hold the blade up, so it's easier to lift the blade up when you start this process and put some trivet under it, because during all this the blade will be falling and you'll be pulling down on your rigging. And that's just something that I've learned the hard way on these. It's just never just expect that the hydraulics are going to hold this blade up. These are going to be some gusset plates to go on each side of the ears that we made. Here's the template that I used. Just made one, and it's going to go like so. I'm going to angle it up to get the most support up in this area where the ear's sticking so far away from the blade, so they'll be somewhat like that. Got 4 of them. The CNC seamless did a great job again. Like I said, that can be done by hand. That right there is a lot of cutting that we did in just a few minutes. And see how well they've got it figured out, where you can rotate these parts on the tablet really easily to maximize your material. Okay, and getting those prepped up. We're about to get this job on the downhill slide. Sometimes these jobs like this seems like you're not getting anywhere for the whole part of the day, and that's the way it does feel when you're doing on-site work. But we've got everything prepped. All our ears are welded up. We've got our gussets fixing to be prepped. So the last thing we've got to do is just make sure this blade or this rake is lined up in relation to the blade, and we'll start getting these mounts tacked off, and it'll be a downhill welding game from here. And then we'll pin the rake back on and make sure everything fits, and we're going to leave it pinned on for the customer because he's ready to use it. So that's where we're at on this job. I'm going to try to set up the camera and let y'all see a little bit of the fit, the alignment process. Sometimes that can go well, and sometimes you can kind of go back and forth on trying to get all this stuff lined up like it should be. All right, we got everything finished up. Took a little bit longer than we anticipated, but we had to do a good bit of fabrication on these mounts to make them strong enough that I was happy with them. We added some big gussets here going kind of upwards to catch the higher part of the brackets there. And then we also added a piece of 3/4 on the back there to keep those from spreading, and it'll strengthen the whole assembly a lot more with that on there. But overall, this was a good project. Everything went fairly smooth. One thing about these projects is I never have done this particular rake on this particular blade. I always go into these projects expecting to have a little bit of issues here and there, having some things to work through. There's a lot of unknowns with this work. And that's with a lot of projects we do. There's never one idea in my head to try to get the entire job done. It's do what you can, find a problem and solve it. That's how most of this work goes. It's not just a simple, easy directions in any of this work. There's a lot of struggle that has to go into it, but we enjoy it, and it's just the life we chose. So hope y'all enjoyed this video. Y'all keep watching them, keep liking them. We're going to do our best to keep putting them out there for y'all.